The following podcast is inspired by the book How to Live a Great Life. These podcasts are designed to give you some perspectives that will help improve the quality of your life. In this episode, I will examine my understanding of stress. I will also try to provide you with a way to reduce stress that is easy to implement. To understand the role that stress plays in the lives of human beings, we must ask ourselves, what are the benefits of stress? In Darwin's explanation of natural selection, only those traits that are beneficial to the survival of the species will be passed down from generation to generation. Yet most people experience stress in a negative way. Indeed, doctors and researchers who study health and the factors that increase life expectancy identify unresolved stress as a major negative factor in longevity. One item I would like to deal with at this point is the subtleties in our language around stress. Some people think that stress is different than fear. They think of fear as a short-term event, while stress is more of an ongoing plague of unresolved issues. I believe this is a distinction that does not hold up. For example, psychologists talk about fear of failure. This fear is of an ongoing, persistent nature. It is also present in just about everybody. Someone once described a squirrel as a rat with a furry tail and good public relations. So too are stress and fear cousins. So why does stress exist in humans? I gained some insight into the benefits of stress when I was on a photographic safari in South Africa many years ago. I drove up the east coast of South Africa from Cape Town to a private safari park. The trip itself was an adventure for several reasons. One of those reasons was that South Africa, once an English colony, has adopted the practice of driving on the left side of the road. As in England, the steering wheel was on the right side of the car. I adapted reasonably well to the English style of driving, helped by the fact that I had several years before spent 2 weeks driving through the English countryside. However, when I turned off the highway, the final 2 miles of the journey were on a winding, narrow road with only one lane in each direction. To make matters worse, when I looked to my left, I noticed there was no guardrail and virtually no shoulder. The road was also at the top of a canyon with a drop of several hundred feet to the bottom. My stress levels reached heights I was not anticipating. I convinced myself, as best I could, that people drove this road all the time without incident. I was, however, greatly relieved when I finally saw the cutoff to the safari park, which was on wide, flat land. I relate this driving experience in part because it illustrates how our bodies naturally react to imminent danger. On that treacherous road, sweat appeared on my brow, my breathing became shallow, and I was incredibly alert. It was a short-term stress that was in some ways beneficial. Nevertheless, it was my experiences in the safari park that gave me some insight into why stress responses may have evolved in humans. The days out on safari were exhilarating. 2 couples were present with me in an off-road vehicle. There was a driver and a guide. The guide carried a very large rifle. In later years, I wondered if the recoil from the rifle would have knocked her right out of the vehicle. We saw cheetahs, elephants, and giraffes, all in close proximity to us. The more dangerous animals we encountered were a group of 3 lions and a rhinoceros. We came within 40 yards of each of these animals. The guide explained to us that animals in the reserve were not fed. The predators had to kill to survive, while the grazers had to find their own nourishment as well as avoid predators. At one point, we watched as the 3 lions, all about 3 years old and inexperienced hunters, tried to hunt down a very agile warthog. It was quite amazing to see the would-be prey dart quickly in many different directions before ultimately escaping. In the evening, the vehicle would stop in front of our main building. It was there that we took our meals. After dinner, we were escorted to our individual accommodations. These were beautifully appointed old-fashioned cabins that seemed to be drawn from the pages of a pre-World War I glamorous scene of adventure by wealthy world adventurers. The escorts carried flashlights and were very welcome. You see, we had been advised that there were no fences. It was possible, though extremely unlikely, that we could be confronted by a predator on a journey between our sleeping accommodation and the main building. We were given a safety tip. If we should meet a lion on our journey between buildings, we were not to run. The lion would see us as prey and hunt us down. If we stood still, the lion would see us as a predator and very likely not attack. In the mornings, we were on our own in the walk to the main building for breakfast. For me, this was a life-changing experience. I knew there was a remote possibility of being confronted by a lion on this 5-minute walk. My senses were all heightened in ways I could not have imagined before. My hearing became so sensitive that I could hear the sound of the tall grass moving in the wind, as well as the birds and other sounds that I might not normally pay attention to. My eyes darted around, sensitive to any movement of even the most innocuous of foliage. Each morning, I breathed a deep sigh of relief when I reached the main building. In the evening, alone in my cabin, no TV or internet, I thought about these morning challenges. I realized that thousands of years ago, our ancestors had to deal with the threat of being attacked by a carnivore. It occurred to me that these ancestors, which did not have the heightened awareness that we might call stress, would not have survived. Those humans who had elevated levels of stress when they might be hunted would live to pass on their genes to the next generation. The world has changed. We no longer live in periodic threat of being hunted. We have evolved to develop judgment about what might go wrong. We have regrets about past decisions or events. These approaches to life cause us an ongoing stress. In another episode, I will share what I have learned about greatly reducing these sources of stress. Today, I want to offer you an approach that can reduce stress and increase the feeling of well-being. Most cable companies have a fireplace channel. This channel shows a log fireplace burning. The channel is usually found in the higher channel numbers on your TV. Try this. Sit for 5 minutes watching the fire. Then close your eyes with the fireplace channel still on. Spend 15 more minutes picturing the fire in your mind. At first, your mind might dart all over the place with many random thoughts. Be patient. After another 5 minutes has passed, your mind will relax. Once the 15 minutes has elapsed, open your eyes you will likely feel refreshed and a little more in balance. Try doing this every day. If that is not possible, try every other day. These podcasts are an introduction to the soon-to-be-published book, How to Live a Great Life. The promise of the book is to give you information and tools that will help you to reduce stress and increase joy in your life. To get updates on the launch date for the book, as well as information on future podcasts, please click the link Great Life in the show notes of this episode. Enter your email and you will be kept up to date. If you are listening using the Apple Podcast app, the show notes can be found by pressing on Detail. Then scroll down the show notes to find the Great Life link. This is Bill Rabo reminding you that your thoughts create your reality. So think positive thoughts.